So we have seen Suspiria. Did we vomit in the cinema? Did we walk out? Did we boo? Did we yell? Did we scream? Did we get super excited and go, this is the best film I've ever seen? Well,
We went Suspiria, more like Suspiria, yeah! Because I loved it! So, Suspiria 2018 is the new film by director Luca Guadagnino, who obviously did Call Me By Your Name last year, one of our favourites of last year, actually now one of our all-time favourites, just a totally beautiful movie. But that means we were totally on board for whatever he was doing next, and knowing that he was doing a remake or a reimagining of the 1977 Dario Argento classic Suspiria, we were well and truly on board. I mean, this is a thing.
and so going into the film, I had seen the original and Bailey had not, so we decided that was the game plan going in, so we at least had two different point of views. Did it matter? Nope.
And in this film, we see American dancer Susie, played by Dakota Johnson, join a German dance academy in 1977. And obviously, that dance academy is run by a group of witches.
Witches, yeah, cauldrons, yeah, spells.
Well, not quite, but you know, hectic stuff. And that's pretty much all we're going to say, because while this is meant to be a somewhat remake, it's holding the same title, a lot of the same ideas, I don't think this is anything like what the original is supposed to be at all. And you can confirm that.
Correct, confirm.
Whole different ballpark. So going into this movie, you know, you're going to cop the unexpected absolutely no matter what. Whether you've seen the trailers and you haven't seen the original, or you've seen the original, doesn't matter. You're in for a wild ride where you are not going to know what is going to happen next. And what I love so much about this movie is how utterly crazy it is, and how different it is, and how unique it is. And that's what I love. Seeing something that I've never witnessed before. Feeling like I'm there, witnessing something totally new. And I know it is based on an original film that I have not seen. But that experience is what I love. This thing of seeing something new and bold and exciting. And it's really difficult to explain to you why that's a good thing outside of my own perspective after only having seen it once, because it's such a sensory experience. It's so overwhelming. It's really hard for me to be able to boil down all of these things that I'm feeling, all of this excitement and all of that, and then explain to you why I think that's a good thing. It's just, I loved this thing that was different.
And I totally feel the same way as well. I mean, for someone who has seen the original, this film feels completely separate. It is exactly what Luca has said. He said this film is a reimagining, not a remake. And it feels that way, and it definitely breathes new life. I mean, this is certainly a horror thriller mystery that I've never quite seen before. And the best thing about Luca's films is they feel timeless. There's something about this film where, you know, whether you love it, hate it, or however you feel about it, you're going to be able to come back to it and get something new from it, or you're at least going to be able to explore it in a new light.
You're going to feel something. It's going to give you a visceral reaction.
And that's what makes it hard to talk about as well, is because there is so much here that you kind of like how do I actually explain this in conversation? It is all about the experience. And speaking of experiences, my goodness, Tilda Swinton, is she an experience in of herself? Wow! And kudos to Luca for casting both Tilda and Dakota in this. Even before the film was even getting made, he cast them back when he was working with them in A Bigger Splash. And look, the thing is, why they work so well together is because they are completely different actresses alike. You know, Tilda is someone who completely transforms on screen and loses herself in the role. And that does not say that Dakota doesn't, but Dakota is a wonderful screen actress. She just brings beauty. She brings a mystery to her characters that you just kind of quite can't unlock. And she's completely shutting down all critics and naysayers about her and whether she gives off cold performances in 50 Shades or not. I completely disagree. I think she has fun with those roles. Here she shows once again that she is someone that wants to commit to her craft and really give everything to the role. She is just wonderful to watch on screen, and she's mysterious. You don't know what she's going to do next.
And this entire cast of almost all female performers does a fantastic job. It's just this feeling of like all these performers just working towards this one goal, this one vision. I get the feeling that even they, while they were making the movie, were like, I got no idea what's going on. But them trusting in this director who's going to bold new places and going with them. And it just feels like the film itself is so fully committed to this idea of making something crazy and individual. And I just love that feeling. You can feel it in every single frame, in every bit of audio, just the whole thing as this sensory experience. Everyone was just totally committed to making it happen. And it's a really palpable feeling. It's totally tangible.
Now, I heard you mention sound there, and well, we can't talk about sound with this film without talking about the mighty Thom Yorke. He has come along and waved his magic wand and created one of the most beautiful soundtracks / scores to a film ever. I mean, my goodness, you got to buy this bad boy on vinyl because it is something of wonders.
I mean, obviously we're already Radiohead fans, but this is incredible. It's genuinely like the music on its own is enough of a sensory experience. But like, I haven't really heard a soundtrack like this before. I don't know where he whipped this thing out from, but it's incredible. And the way it elevates moments and feeds into it, and it feels like the music is in the very veins of the movie. Just, oh. How about that cinematography as well?
Yeah, nice. It was real good.
It is real good because it's actually taking, from what I've seen of the original, it's this really over-the-top, bold, extravagant movie with all these, awash in colours. There's all this crazy stuff going on. This movie's like, no, we're going to mute it right down. We're going to desaturate it. It still has some fantastic colour work and, some fantastic stuff going on in there. But it's just got this really almost like wintry feeling to it. This really like lived-in, almost realistic feeling. And that, again, just really unique. You're telling this story like the original going this way, this one's going this way, and on its own, it's just beautiful. There's some really fantastic shot design. There's some really creative camera stuff, particularly as we get into the third act. And it just the entire movie, I'm like, I'm just watching art, and I'm loving it. And I don't know what to tell you about why I'm loving it so much, but I'm loving it, and it's great.
Now, we keep mentioning that this film is a reimagining and not a remake, and I think that's really important to talk about, and I really do hope the industry actually pays attention to what this film represents and stands for, because we now live in an era where it is remakes and sequels and franchises all the time, left, right, and center. Of course, there's a lot of original work out there, but we are getting a lot of remakes. But here, Luca really shows us what you can do with a remake. You don't remake it, you reimagine it. What you don't do is serve these false gods. Serve false ideologies when it comes to what you should do when you're making a remake. There's no need to go ahead and say, oh, I really love this. Oh, let me show you that I love it. Let me show you this part. Oh, feel nostalgic here. Let me do this part. There's no need for that. Luca's openly said, yeah, I love Suspiria, but I think it has its problems and it's a film I've always wanted to, tackle myself. And here he goes ahead and reimagines the film completely. He is not strained by, ideas of what the film should be. He's allowed to completely create in a free environment. And I think that's what all artists and creators should be able to do when they go ahead and tackle a remake, because they are going to happen. And it allows for new ideas to come from it.
And I think the way to look at it is like, you've got a tree, and that's the original. You don't dig up the tree and plant it somewhere else 30 years later. You actually take a seed from that tree and plant it somewhere new, and you grow something new out of it. That's what you've got to do. And that's what this film proves to me, that you can do this entirely new thing with a remake and not just like adhere to the original. It's not just, let's give them the original again because they love the original. Let's give them something that feels like that, but something that's new. And look, if we really try to kind of get something concrete out of this movie.
Focus in, really put our glasses on.
Put something... the way I kind of see this movie is that it's simultaneously too much and not enough. And I think that's just right. I think that's perfectly right. I think for me that works. And what I mean by that is it's, as we've said, it's sensory overload. It's overwhelming. There's so much going on. It's a long movie. There's so many different corners of this thing with all this different stuff going on. And yet it feels like what's in there in terms of content, there's not a lot in there. And you know what? For me, I kind of like that. And when I say that, I'm not saying that the movies doesn't have any depth or it does. It's not easy to decipher. But it has these ideas that I kind of can clearly pick out. I'm like, yeah, there's bits of motherhood in there. There's bits of kind of generational guilt, and there's stuff about, recovering from wartime and what, people are responsible for, taking responsibility for things. There's all these different ideas of themes in there. But I think they're a lot more literal than people are going to dig into them with. I think just because the movie's long and it's so intense and there's so much going on, doesn't mean these themes are super, complex. And that's just all I'm saying for me. I feel like all its ideas became very clear to me once I just looked at them as simple things. And again, it's not an easily accessible movie. I don't think it's easy to tap into it. You have to kind of go with it and want to try to find what it's about, what it's saying. But I think it gets into there if you want to choose to kind of find that stuff. It's just not anywhere near as complex as I think the movie that's surrounding it is. I think it's kind of two very separate things.
And yeah, look, it is a very hard film to decipher or to pinpoint one theme or idea, but I think the best thing that this film does do is it opens itself to discussion. No matter how you feel about it, you can walk out and you can discuss with people for hours on end. And that to me is what art's about. And I absolutely adore this film. It's freaking masterful. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it on a second time. Maybe I'll discover new things, but I'm damn well excited to go back and watch it again because this film is an experience that demands being seen in a cinema.
And that's what I mean when I say it's just an exciting thing, and that's why I love it, is because it's giving us something new, and when you get something new, you want to talk about it. You want to go and share that with other people. And I think whether it's a negative thing or a positive thing, yeah, people walked out of this and they didn't like it and I talked to them and it was an interesting conversation. That's the thing. It actually generates something interesting. And yeah, I'm fascinated by this movie as a whole. I think it's this bizarre, insane, crazy, manic, possible masterpiece. But what really does it for me is just that feeling of just seeing something new, seeing something fresh, seeing something that, yeah, it's a little bit terrifying at times. It's got its own weird sense of humor. It's got this extravagance, this lushness, this over-the-topness that I kind of just love. So those were our super blurred and muddled and just confused thoughts about Suspiria, but we loved it. So we want to know, have you seen it yet?
Did you like it?
Did you hate it?
Did you like this video?
Of course you did.
Crave more banter?
If so, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel down there somewhere. You can also check out my new channel, Loverboy Media, where I post my Why I Love series.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are just down below.
And we also have a Patreon. I want to thank you guys who are supporting us on there already for doing so, because you guys are amazing. But if you do want to sign up to that, we have a bunch of cool rewards that we offer on there. So head on over and check it out. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in whatever we do next.